It is therefore my recommendation, that of the city manager, that Tim Denison be appointed as chief of police for the city of Mineral Wells.
Chief Dennison, if you would join me in the front, please. Just stand right up here, please. So if you'll take this, if you'll raise your right hand and read that.
I, Tim Denison, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Chief of Police for the city of Mineral Wells.
Yes, I am very excited about the upcoming job. A little bit nervous, but it's good nerves. So,
what makes you nervous, Tim?
That I make the decisions, and that I have, the responsibility of 40 employees, and that their success, and for their families and that kind of stuff. That you feel like you carry a little bit of extra weight.
Sure. Any big changes that you think you see need to happen anytime, pretty quick?
I've been out there a couple times, and I've talked to a couple people, and I think that there's definitely a few minor changes, and I think easy wins for me, as far with the officers, and some things that I've heard them say that they want to change, they want to do. But ultimately, I think the number one priority on most everybody's list is going to be facilities for the agents, the department. I mean, they've been in that building since my understanding is the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think just the facilities is really, I know that, talking with the city manager, I mean, it's something that was, on the forefront of his, or the top of his priority list whenever he was the chief. And now that he's the city manager, I think me stepping in that role, it's got to be on the top of my priority list as well. It's, the facilities are just not adequate to continue to provide adequate public safety for the growth that's expected with the community.
What are y'all thinking? I mean, are we going to have to go in a bond, do you think? I mean, obviously, there's got to be money there to build something.
There is some opportunity for some grants and stuff out there. I mean, probably not, to fund a fully, furnished, public safety building,
Mm-hmm.
but there is some opportunity for some grants and stuff out there, as well as, there is bonds, but there's also, a couple different ways that, the city can do things too. So there's some different funding options. It's just, getting, I know that right now their focus has been on the streets and the water and that kind of stuff. And so, whether it's a year or 2 years, down the road, but, I think it's my job to come in and help think outside the box and get creative on, some funding.
I'm hearing the morale of the officers is pretty low. Obviously, we've got a huge turnover. I mean, what can we do to combat that?
Well, I think, for me, the first thing I say is, you got to come in and you got to invest in your people. I mean, you really got to and make the job fun. And for me, I think, making it fun, one is, if you're not having fun, why are you coming to work? You're just coming in, you're miserable, you're making those people around you miserable. So, we got to do something. They're not saying that, anybody there is miserable or that that's really the, part of it, but just having fun. I mean, just having enjoying your work, but then, from the leadership aspect, investing into your people. And when I say that, I mean, it's thinking outside the box on, if one of your dispatchers has a kid and, maybe they don't have, their babysitter called in sick, so they're going to have to call in sick, Well, is there any way that, they might be able to bring them to work with them that day? I know it's not a daycare facility and it's, it can be a high stress job, but, is there any way we can help them out? Because I know that they need the work, they need the money.
Right.
And if they want to work, so it's just trying to really think, a patrol officer, you can't really do that with a patrol officer, say, bring your kid to work. But,
right.
On that side of things, it's really, hey, in my opinion, it's family, making it a family first type thing to where, that they, believe in me, that I say, we want you to take care of your family first before this job. As important of a job as it is, your family's going to be there long after this job is. And so we got to figure out a way to have that healthy work-life balance. I think creating some programs other than just having patrol and, CID, which is your detectives, creating some other, having an active drone program or a community engagement person. I know we got the SROs, maybe some federal task force positions, which I've got good relationships with some people that, run some of the federal task force, but we got to get staffing up to make that happen. The recruiting, and it's not, the officers have to understand that one, it's not only in Mineral Wells where, recruiting is an issue and staffing is an issue. It's every agency across the country, that is having this issue.
Right.
So, I think just, really trying to get them to understand and buy into that it's not just them, and sometimes when you're working, 6, 7, 10 days in a row, 12-hour shifts, you don't really think outside of your own little box at that point. You're thinking about, yourself, and sometimes rightfully so, because, you're exhausted from, all the work you're putting in. But, many, many departments across the country are doing the same thing. And, maybe it's changing the hours, maybe, it's just trying to get creative with scheduling. And,
Right.
But really, the recruit, one thing I'm kind of excited about is my understanding is one of the officers who was full-time that recently just left and I guess went to be a teacher at the school district, and he's going to start, I think this next year, they're going to start having criminal justice classes at the high school and partnering up with them and trying to find some of those homegrown kids that, really are serious and want to get into law enforcement, or maybe they're not serious. But going in and, letting them understand that, what a great career it can be.
Right.
And maybe pulling some of those kids along that line and trying to just recruit from our own in the community. You're
Right.
not getting a lot of people coming from the Metroplex that want to come to,
Right.
Mineral Wells, or, they're wanting to go to the bigger cities where they're making more money and they have more opportunity to do different things. So it's trying to, create some of that there. And then also having the understanding that, you are a smaller department, you don't make as much money, you don't have as many opportunities. And so, if we can get good quality applicants in for 2 to 3 years and, knowing that they're going to go somewhere else, of course you don't ever want them to, but, that there are, every agency loses people to other agencies.
Yeah.
There's just something there more appealing, or they have a buddy that works for the other agency that, recruits them over. Or,
Right.
But just, having a good pool of candidates always, over here on the side, ready to go.
How many are you down right now? How many officers do you have, and how many positions do you still need to fill?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
Answer, Amy. I know they've got 3 officers that are in field training right now. And my understanding is there's 3 in the academy right now.
Oh, good.
And so they've got 3 in field training, 3 in the academy. So maybe a couple, but I don't know a specific number on that.
A couple of things I've been thinking about. Well, first of all, you mentioned earlier about, citizens being involved and stuff. I know that once a year, PD does a community citizens police academy. And I started it year before last and only got a couple of classes in, but I did learn a ton. And I was kind of sad that there weren't more people involved in that. I just think, gosh, we need more community involvement and it takes kind of, and I know sometimes the concept of neighborhood watches I've learned is kind of, I don't know, I guess some people don't like that idea, but it seems like in a community where you're struggling to have officers at all time, maybe some community neighborhood watches would work or be beneficial.
I don't know if they have a Citizens on Patrol program, which is what we, in White Settlement, what we did is we had the, Citizens Police Academy, which is where we brought them in for the 13 weeks and we, taught them a lot of what we do. Right. And then once they graduated from that program, they were eligible to enter into our Citizens on Patrol, which is where we gave them, magnetic signs for their cars and we gave them a radio and they partnered up and, a couple people would be just out in their own vehicle driving around in the neighborhoods. And if they saw something, a suspicious person or somebody, they would just get on the radio and say, "Hey, we saw this going on. They're not to interact or act on anything, but just an extra set of eyes and ears that are out there."
And did you find that program beneficial? Or no?
Yes, we had a lot of participation up until COVID hit.
Oh, okay.
Once COVID hit, of course, it kind of shut a lot of things down. And they're in the process of really reinvigorating all that right now.
Oh, cool. Well, that'd be cool if we could do something like that around here. Because I don't know. I just feel like the more people we have involved, it just seems like the same 15 to 20% of people in this community do everything. So I don't know. It just seems like too, you could really work on that relationship between officers and the public and stuff. You know, you guys,
that's definitely one of my priorities.
Oh,
is
good.
Community engagement.
I love that.
It's something that we were really, really big in over there, and something that I've always been, heavily involved with my entire career, whether it was the youth or just, the community in general, with businesses. I mean, it's just.
Well, y'all's social media involvement in White Settlement is incredible. Like I would love to see more of that, because I think the more transparent you are with the public, that you have less, people moaning.
How they kind of explain that is, us as officers, we have to continually put deposits into the community. I mean, we have to continually just deposit, positivity and engagement, and anything we can do to add any kind of deposits into that piggy bank with the community, we have to do it. And, because there's going to be a time where we're going to run into, some kind of a questionable incident or some kind of something's going to happen. And if you don't have deposits in there, it's going to be extremely bad. And so, those deposits are extremely, extremely important.